Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Top Tier TCG, where I talk about different decks and how to play them. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the best cards to invest in 2025 if you're going to start playing the Pokemon TCG. So April's coming up and the rotation's about to hit for Pokemon, and if you're new to the game, that means that a lot of the old cards that we used in the Sword and Shield era are now going to be rotating out. And those had a lot of good support Pokemon, but everything on Scarlet and Violet and forward are still going to be legal. And we've had a couple new sets since I made my last video about this, so we're going to go through the cards that I believe are probably going to be useful in a lot of different decks. You can see them being used in Japan and potentially in the future, and these will just kind of like give you a guide on what to build around with. A lot of these cards you can use for everyday decks, but some of them are a little more specific. But let's just get started on the video, and just a reminder that this is an opinion of mine, and this could change and grow or decrease depending on how the meta shakes up, and you should just look at other cards to see what you would like. But this is my list, and I hope you find some use for it. And if you're thinking of buying some cards, look into these, and you probably will not be disappointed having them. So let's just get started, and I'm going to start off with the card Klefki here. It has 70 HP. It has the ability Mischievous Lock. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, basic Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, have no abilities except for Mischievous Lock. So you're going to be encountering a lot of decks that have abilities like the ones on this list, and this card will shut a lot of them down as long as they're basic. This is a really good card to play against if you know your opponents are using a lot of basic abilities like Raging Bolt or a Munkidori deck or the Terapagos deck. This is a good way just to like stun them for a little bit and get your deck to start building things. And you're not really using it for its attack, Joust, but this could be a potential game changer for you, especially if you get this in the beginning. And then we have a new card here, Zoroark EX, that just came out with Journey Together, and you want it for its trade ability. You must discard a card from your hand. If you do, you can draw 2 cards, and you can use this ability for however many Zoroark you have in your field. So if you have 4, you can do this trade ability 4 times. It's like having a Greninja, essentially, but instead of an energy, it's a any card in your hand. And this is a really cool one to have, brand new. Goes well with dark decks, but if you want to use this as a support for your draw engine, you can just go ahead and do that. Definitely a card to look out for. It just came out, so it's a little pricey, but worth picking up at least 2 of those. And then we have Teal Ogerpon EX for its Teal Dance ability. Once in your turn, you may attach a basic grass energy from your card from your hand and put this to your Pokemon. If you do, you can draw a card. So this is more lean towards grass type decks. Raging Bolt uses this. The Terapagos deck uses this. Anything with like rainbow style energies are good with this card, but I wanted to include in the list because it's helped so many other decks win. Maybe you have a combination of energy types, so might be worth throwing this guy in there. Teal Ogerpon EX. And then we're going to move over to another basic, Latias EX with the ability Skyliner. Your basic Pokemon in play have no retreat cost, which is super useful, especially if you don't want to discard any of your energies and you play a more basic style deck, or your main support Pokemon is basic and then you switch it out to get your attacker in. Really good way just to conserve your resources and get the game flowing for you. Gonna only need one of those too, and you don't need the rare one, you can get the basic one. And then we have Cornerstone Ogerpon EX, another one of the masks, for its ability Cornerstone Stance. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon with the EX in there. I'm sorry, I chopped that up, but any Pokemon with the EX that has an ability will not do damage to this card. And we also like its attack right here called Demolish. It does 140, and the attacks damage from this Pokemon is not affected for weakness or effect on that Pokemon. Meaning that this card is really useful against any cards that have an effect on you. So Noivern EX has an attack that doesn't let any basic Pokemon attack them. This attack works on it. This attack works on Mimikyu. This attack works on my Ultic. Just it bypasses everything. It only does 140 damage, but the attack does a lot, so you might want to throw that in there just in case you run into those stall style decks. And again, you only need 1 of those, maybe 2 if you're building a deck around fighting types, but worth looking at here. And then we have Relicanth with the ability Memory Drive. Each of your evolved Pokemon can use attacks from its previous evolutions, and this is a basic Pokemon. You're not going to use it for its attack at all, but the ability Memory Drive is really useful if the Stage 1 or the basic attack from your Stage 2 Pokemon has more benefits to you than the main attacker, considering Pokemon like Feraligatr that just won a Japanese Nationals. This card came in clutch for the ability to use Feraligatr's previous moves, so maybe you have a Pokemon deck that does that as well, and you can just utilize it for yourself. And only need 1 of those. And then we have Pecharunt EX. This is more for dark types, but if you have them in there, why not? For the ability Subjugating Chains. Once during your turn, you may switch one of your bench dark Pokemon except for any Pecharunt EX with your active Pokemon. If you do, the new active Pokemon is now poisoned. You can't use more than one Subjugating Chain ability each turn. This one's a more little niche, but if you do run a dark deck, it's worth having in there. Gives you a free switch and you get poisoned, so you can combine that with the Binding Mochi to do some extra damage with whatever Pokemon you stocked up. Worth a shot in there, maybe mixing it with the Zoroark EX and maybe some other types in the future that come out. But for now, this guy's reserved for dark types. And then we have another overall throw in any deck type Pokemon, Pidgeot EX, with its ability Quick Search. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. You can only use one Quick Search ability per turn. This is an amazing card. It's a stage 2, so you're going to have to use that rare candy to get there, but you can literally grab any card out of your deck that you need. Really good for stall decks, really good with Charizard, really good with just a majority of decks out there that need that card in a specific time. Worth having it in there. You're probably going to run a 2/2 line with rare candies, but not an expensive card. Throw it in there if you got it. And then we have Mew EX. This one can go anywhere as well with the Restart ability. Once during your turn, you may draw a card until you have 3 cards in your hand. Really good in case you have a dead hand and you have 0 cards. Ultra Ball everything out of your way. Start it with a fresh hand of 3 without using any supporter or item cards. Really nice. And with the attack genome hacking, it kind of gets away with using things like Mimikyu's put 7 damage counters on an opponent's Pokemon. If your opponent has a really crazy attacker and it's your turn and your Mew EX is fueled with energy, you can use that attack as well, but you mainly want to use it for the restart ability, and it has a free retreat, so you can put in the active spot in case something knocks out and get that switch up when you need it. And you're only going to need one of those in there. And then we have this card, Fezandipiti EX, which is probably one of the best ones here, with the ability Flip the Script. Once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you draw 3 cards. You can't use more than one Flip the Script ability each turn. This one has become a main staple in so many decks. Like, there's literally no reason why not to have this. It gives you a free 3 cards if a Pokemon gets knocked out. And especially if it's just a one prize Pokemon, you get those 3 cards and kind of pull the things you need out of that. So if there's any card I recommend getting, it's this one for sure. This will literally go in any deck that you build. And then we have the Noctowl line with the ability Jewel Seeker. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may have, if you have any Terra Pokemon in play, you may search your deck for up to 2 trainer cards. Reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this synergizes really well with any Terra type. So if you're playing a Teal Mask Ogerpon, Cornerstone, or the Terra Pikachu, or Hydreigon, it might be worth throwing this Noctowl in there just so you can get the 2 energies that you need whenever you want it. Just make sure you have a Terra Pokemon in play when you do so, or the ability doesn't work. So usually run 2 of these. Some people run 3. That's up to you. And then we have this big hitter here, Budew. We're not using it for its ability. We're using it for its attack. Itchy Pollen does 10 damage, but during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand. This card has been causing destruction everywhere. I know a lot of people were thinking that it wasn't going to be a big deal. People will just play around it. But this card has been helping people win. It's been keeping things like Dragapult on top, Gardevoir on top, just stopping decks all the time out of nowhere. And this is a formidable card to have, and it's only 1 prize, and it could win you the game because your opponent could just dead hand with all the item cards they have. So it's worth having 1 or 2 in there. A lot of people play 1, but some decks are built around 2. And then we move over to Cleffa, another baby type, and you're using it for Grasping Draw. Draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. This is really good for if you're going first turn, or if you're going second and you manage to use up your hand, have Cleffa in the active spot, free retreat, and with no energy, you can draw up to 7, which is super useful for your next turn. And you're only sacrificing 1 prize card. It's the same as the Budew, except you get a bigger hand, and where the Budew, you just pause your opponent's hand. Just have 1 of those would be totally fine. And then we have Munkidori. This is more specific again. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has a dark energy attached, you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to your opponent's Pokemon. This has been a really good deck. It helps you with your damage calculations. Let's say you were 20 off and they couldn't knock out your Pokemon. Throw a dark energy on that Munkidori, or I think a Lumious energy counts as any energy type, and you can move over those 30 damage. And if you have multiple on your bench, you can use that multiple times. So it's worth having this card in your deck if you're building around that style of damage moving, or if you have a dark type energy deck, might as well throw at least 1 in there just to get those calculations right. And then we have Wellspring Mask Ogerpon EX. This is more specific for the Terra types, but it does have that first move, Sob, for 20 damage, and your opponent's next turn can't retreat the defending Pokemon, which is really nice to trap something there, for giving you time to build up your deck. Or if you manage to have a Water Energy, or maybe you do play the Luminous Energy in this deck as well, you use Torrential Pup, and then discard your energies into your deck, and you will do another, 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So the snipe damage is really useful, and you don't discard the energies, they just go back into your deck. Worth the shot, maybe running one, test it how it runs. If you don't need it, you don't need it, but definitely a card that I would think about having in the future. And then we have Mimikyu with its Safeguard ability. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. Really good card to have in the beginning of the game, stall your opponent, and if you have something along the lines that has like a bait and switch style, this is really great because you can attack your opponent, throw this card in front, and now your opponent can't do anything if they have an EX card. And then we have the Dusknoir line with the ability Curse Blast. Once during your turn, you may put 13 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you use this ability, this Pokemon is knocked out. So you can move those damage counters onto a Pokemon. You do lose a prize card, but it could change up the game for you in a positive way if you know how to do it. Works for Dragapult, works for Charizard, and maybe you have a deck build that would really utilize the extra damage counters. Because you also have the Dusclops that does 5, but the Dusknoir does 130 damage. So worth a shot throwing in there. Mix it up with something. If you have a Psychic deck, throw it in there. You don't even need to have the Psychic deck per se, but if you want to use its attack, you can. But I would run at least 2 of those in there if you decide to do a Dusknoir line, but maybe one's okay with you. And then that's all of them. But I realized there was one card I totally spaced out about as I'm making this list, so I'm going to add it in here. Our good friend Ditto. He is definitely a card worth having with the ability Transformative Start. Once during your first turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may search your deck and choose a basic Pokemon you find there, except any Ditto. If you do, discard this Pokemon and all cards attached, and put that chosen Pokemon in its place, then shuffle your deck. This card is definitely worth throwing in any deck, especially if you need to choose what you want in the beginning. Let's say it is turn 1 for you, and you want that Klefki, because you just saw your opponent put a bunch of Pecharunts and the Fezandipiti, Mews, the Latias, the Teal Mask. All those Pokemon are going to be null because you have that Klefki, and you got to it through the Ditto. Or maybe you want the Budew because you know you're going second, and you have that Ditto up front, bada bing, bada boom, you get your Ditto, you get your Mimikyu, get your Cleffa if that's what you need. Definitely worth throwing in here, at least one. Some people decide to use 2. Raging Bolt uses 1, so I'm going to throw one in there for me. But yeah, this is my list, guys. That's a total of, 16 Pokemon? 18 Pokemon here. So again, this is just my opinion on cards that I think are really useful, especially for the 2025 season and post-rotation. What do you guys think? Do you have any cards you would add on here? Is my list horrible? If you like this video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. We're almost at 400. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. I'll catch you in the next video, okay? Peace.